Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, staring at the main screen 3 days into their routine patrol along the outer edge of human space. They had found something unexpected. A damaged alien ship drifted silently in the void, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere into space. Any response to our signals? Morrison asked his communications officer. Nothing, sir. The ship appears to be running on emergency power only. Dr. Lisa Grant stepped forward, her eyes bright with curiosity as the ship's lead scientist. For alien life, she had been waiting years for a moment like this. Captain, we need to board that vessel. There might be survivors. Morrison nodded slowly. First contact situations were always dangerous, but they couldn't ignore the possibility of saving lives. Ben, get your team ready. Full environmental suits and standard weapons. Protocol. Security Chief Ben Carter was already moving toward the armory. Yes, sir. How many are we taking over? Small team. You, Dr. Grant, and 2 Marines. I want minimal risk but maximum capability to help whoever might be over there. The alien ship was unlike anything in human databases. It looked organic rather than manufactured, with smooth curves that resembled bone more than metal. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly with residual power. As the boarding party crossed through the airlocks, their suit lights revealed corridors that seemed grown rather than built. The walls had a living texture, and the air still held traces of an unfamiliar atmosphere. Life signs detected, reported Marine Corporal Amy Walsh, checking her scanner. 3 entities, all showing weak vital signs. They're in what appears to be the central chamber. The team moved carefully through the ship's winding passages. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows on the organic walls. Dr. Grant took readings as they walked, amazed by the biological technology surrounding them. They found the survivors in a room that served as both bridge and living quarters. 3 alien beings lay on raised platforms that might have been beds or control stations. They were unlike anything humans had encountered before. The aliens were tall and lean, with reptilian features covered in scales that shifted color slowly like oil on water. Their large eyes were closed, but their chests rose and fell with labored breathing. One was clearly older, with deeper colored scales and more pronounced ridges along its skull. Another appeared, younger and smaller. The third was powerfully built, with scars marking its arms and face. They're alive, Dr. Grant whispered, running her medical scanner over the nearest alien. Malnourished and dehydrated, but stable for now. As if responding to her voice, the eldest alien's eyes opened. They were large and golden, with intelligence that seemed to look right through the humans. The alien tried to speak, producing sound that the translation device couldn't process. Ben kept his weapon ready, but not aimed directly at the alien. Can you understand us? The alien continued making sounds while pointing weakly at a device attached to the wall. Dr. Grant approached it carefully and saw that it was some kind of communication system. She activated it, and suddenly the alien sounds became words. Please, the alien said, his voice deep and tired. We mean no harm. We are dying. Morrison's voice came through their comm system from the horizon. Status report: 3 survivors, Captain. They're in bad shape but conscious. They can communicate with us. Are they dangerous? Ben looked at the weak, injured aliens and shook his head. Even though Morrison couldn't see him. Negative, sir, they can barely move, Doctor. Grant knelt beside the speaking alien. What happened to you? What species are you? We are Cathmary, the alien replied. Slowly, I am Velter. These are Zixna and Mordek. We have traveled far seeking shelter. Our ship fails. We will die soon without help. Why do you need shelter? Dr. Grant asked gently. Belter's scales shifted to darker colors, which the translation device indicated as sadness. We were cast out. The Federation rejected us. They call us dangerous genetic deviants. Every species turns us away. The Galactic Federation, Ben asked. Humans had heard of this organization, but had never made contact with them directly. Yes, 12 great species rule the galaxy. They decided we are a threat. We cannot return home. We cannot land anywhere. We die in space alone. The younger alien Zixana stirred and spoke weakly. Please, strangers, let us die with dignity. Do not fear us. We harm no one. Dr. Grant felt her heart breaking. These beings were clearly intelligent and peaceful. They were refugees cast out from their own civilization and left to die. We're not going to let you die. We're humans. And we're going to help you. Belter's golden eyes widened. Humans, we have not heard this name. You are not Federation species. No, Ben replied. We're an LT Unk and GT, new to this part of the galaxy, independent. Then you should leave us, Mordek said. Speaking for the first time, his voice was rougher like a warrior's. If Federation learns you helped us, they will punish you too. Morrison's voice came through the calm again. Dr. Grant, what's their medical status? They need immediate treatment, Captain. Malnutrition, dehydration, and what appears to be system failure from their ship's life support. They'll die within hours without intervention. There was a pause before Morrison responded. Bring them aboard. Medical bay is standing by. Belter struggled to sit up. You would save us, even knowing the risk. That's what humans do, Ben said simply. We help people who need help. The transfer to the Horizon took 2 hours. Dr. Grant worked alongside the ship's medical team to stabilize the 3 Cathmary. Their biology was complex but not completely alien. They breathed oxygen like humans, though they needed different nutrients. As the HFY recovered in medical bay, Velter told their story. His people had been part of the Galactic Federation for over 1,000 years. They were respected for their ability to adapt their biology to survive in harsh environments. This gift had made them excellent explorers and colonists, but fear grew among other species. Velter explained to the gathered human officers. They worried we might evolve beyond them, or that we could spread diseases we were immune to. When plague struck our home world, we survived by adapting. Others saw this as proof we were dangerous. Dr. Grant frowned. You were punished for surviving. Yes. Federation declared us genetic threat to galactic stability. They took our world, scattered our people. Most Cathmary accepted, exiled to remote systems. We 3 refused to hide. We searched for new home, new allies. Every species rejected us. Captain Morrison leaned forward. What makes you different from other species? What can you actually do? Zixna, the young engineer, demonstrated by placing her hand on a piece of damaged human equipment. Her scales changed color, and somehow she was able to interface directly with the machine, repairing it through biological connection. We adapt, she said simply. Our bodies change to meet needs. We can survive in many environments others cannot. We can interface with different technologies. We can heal quickly from injuries. That sounds useful, not dangerous. Morrison observed. Federation fears what we might become. Mork added they prefer species that stay the same. We represent change, evolution. This frightens them. Morrison made his decision quickly. You're welcome to stay with us while you recover. We'll take you to Earth if you want. Humanity is still new to galactic politics. We don't answer to the Federation. The three Cathmari looked at each other in amazement. Felter scales shifted to bright, warm colors. You would give us sanctuary even though we are strangers. You're not strangers anymore, Morrison replied. You're guests, and if the Federation has a problem with that, they can take it up with Earth. For the first time in months, the Kathmari had hope. They had finally found a species that judged them by their character rather than their abilities. Humanity had opened its arms to the galaxy's outcast. Not knowing this simple act of kindness would change everything. 6 months had passed since the UES Horizon brought the three Cathmari survivors to Earth. The world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The aliens now lived on Mars Research Station Alpha, a facility that had been quickly expanded to accommodate their unique needs. Dr. Amanda Brooks walked through the station's bio-laboratory, checking on her latest experiments. As Earth's leading expert in alien biology, she had volunteered to oversee the Kathmari integration project. What she had learned in these months amazed her. Daily, "Good morning, Belter," she said to the eldest Cathmari, who was tending to a collection of strange plants in the station's greenhouse section. Belter's scales shifted to warm yellow and orange colors that the humans had learned meant happiness. "Good morning, Amanda. The Earth plants grow well with our methods. Your tomatoes are 3 times larger than normal." The Kathmari had shown humans how to use biological enhancement techniques that made crops more productive. Their knowledge of living systems was beyond anything human science had achieved. Instead of using machines for everything, they worked with living organisms to solve problems. In another part of the station, engineer Ryan Phillips worked alongside Zixna, what they called the biotech workshop. The young Cathmari had her hand pressed against a complex organic structure that pulsed with soft light. "I still don't understand how you do that," Ryan said, watching in fascination as Zixna communicated directly with the living machine. "My body produces the right chemical signals," Zixna explained. "The biotechnology responds to my thoughts and needs. It is like speaking but with chemistry instead of words." She had been teaching Ryan's team how to build machines that grew instead of being manufactured. These biomachines could repair themselves, adapt to new tasks, and even reproduce when needed. Human engineers were struggling to understand the concepts, but they were making progress. The most dramatic changes were happening in the military section of the station. Colonel Steve Hughes, a veteran Marine, trained daily with MDC in the combat simulator. The Cathmari warrior had skills that seemed impossible to human observers. Again, Mork said as Steve picked himself up from the mat for the 10th time that morning. "How do you move that fast?" Steve asked, breathing heavily. "My body adapts to the need," Mork replied simply. "When I need speed, My muscles change when I need strength. My bones become denser when I need better vision. My eyes adjust. Steve had been learning these techniques for months, but humans couldn't chain their biology like the KTH Mary could. Instead, MC was teaching him to use human strengths in new ways. The warrior was amazed by human endurance and creativity in combat. Your people fight differently than any species I know. Mork told him during a rest break, you never give up, even when you should lose. You find new ways to win. That's just how we are, Steve replied with a grin. Stubborn. The peaceful routine was interrupted when Ambassador Helen Ross arrived at the station with urgent news. Earth's top diplomat looked worried as she met with Dr. Brooks and the station. Commander, we have a problem, Helen announced to the assembled staff. Federation ships have been spotted near our outer colonies. They're asking questions about the KTH Mary. Dr. Brooks felt her stomach drop. They had all known this day might come, but they had hoped for more time. What kind of questions, she asked. They want to know if we're harboring Federation exiles. Our colonial governors have been instructed to give no information, but the Federation is getting suspicious. Velter, who had been listening from the doorway, entered the room. His scales had turned dark blue, a color the humans had learned meant fear and sadness. We should leave, he said quietly. We have brought danger to your people. This is not fair to humanity. You're not going anywhere, Dr. Brooks replied firmly. You're part of our family now, but your species could join the Federation if you give us to them. Velter protested. You could have trade technology allies. We are not worth that sacrifice. Helen Ross shook her head. The President and the Earth Council have been very clear. We don't abandon our friends for political gain. That's not who we are. Over the following weeks, the situation grew more tense. Federation scout ships appeared regularly in human space, always staying just outside the official boundaries, but making their presence known. They sent formal messages demanding that humanity surrender the KTH Mary. Criminals. The messages confused many humans because they painted a very different picture of the KTH Mary than what people had observed. According to the Federation, the three aliens were dangerous genetic terrorists who had spread plagues across multiple worlds. None of it is true, Zixna told Dr. Brooks during one of their regular medical examinations. We never spread disease. We never hurt anyone. We only tried to help our people survive the plague that struck our home world. Dr. Brooks had been studying Cathmarie biology for months now, and she had made remarkable discoveries. Their ability to adapt wasn't random or dangerous. It was controlled and beneficial. They could develop immunity to diseases quickly, but they couldn't create or spread new ones. Actually, Dr. Brooks said, I think your abilities could revolutionize human medicine. You could help us cure diseases that have plagued our species for centuries. The breakthrough came when a mysterious illness struck the human colony on Kepler Station. The disease spread quickly and resisted all known treatments. Colonial medical teams were overwhelmed and people were dying. Let us help, Velter offered when news reached Mars Station. This is what we do. This is why the Creator gave us our gifts. Dr. Brooks hesitated. If they sent the KTH Mary to help, it would expose them to Federation surveillance. But people were dying, and the Cathmarie might be the only hope. I'll go, Sixna Volunteered, I am youngest and fastest. To adapt, I can study the disease and find a cure. Against all protocols, Dr. Brooks authorized the mission. Zixa traveled to Kepler station aboard a fast medical ship, her identity hidden from Federation observers on Kepler station. The young Kaithmari worked tirelessly. With human doctors, she allowed herself to be exposed to the disease, then watched as her body quickly developed immunity. Within hours she understood how the illness worked and how to stop it. The disease attacks the nervous system, she explained to the medical team through the biotranslator, but it has a weakness. If we introduce these specific proteins, it will lose its ability to spread. Working together, human and Kathmari scientists produced a cure in just 2 days. The treatment saved hundreds of lives and stopped the epidemic from spreading to other colonies. News of the cure spread quickly through human space when Federation ships demanded to know how humans had solved the medical crisis so quickly. Colonial authorities simply said they had developed new techniques. But Dr. Brooks knew the truth would come out eventually. The Kaithmari had proven their worth to humanity, showing that they were healers rather than the plague spreaders the Federation claimed them to be. Back on Mars Station, the 3 Kaithmari felt something they hadn't experienced in years. Purpose. They weren't just hiding from persecution anymore. They were contributing to a society that valued them. Your people are strange, Mork told Colonel Hughes during their evening training session. Every other species fears what they don't understand. Humans seem to embrace it. Maybe that's our advantage, Hughes replied. We're too curious for our own good sometimes, but it makes us strong. As the months continued, the partnership between humans and Kaithmari deepened. The aliens shared their knowledge freely, helping advance human science and medicine. In return, humans gave them something precious: acceptance and friendship. But in the depths of space, Federation fleets were gathering. The galactic government had grown suspicious of human activities and was preparing to take direct action. The time for hiding was running out, and soon humanity would have to choose between safety and honor. The alarm bells rang throughout Earth Command as the massive Federation fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Chris Baker stood in the command centering at the tactical display, showing more enemy ships than humanity had ever faced. How many? He asked his operations officer. 237 vessels, sir. Multiple species represented. Their holding position just outside Pluto's orbit. Baker felt his stomach tighten. The human fleet consisted of only 42 warships, most of them patrol vessels never designed for major combat. They were completely outgunned. On the main screen, the image of an alien commander appeared. The being was tall and insectoid with multiple arms and eyes that glowed red. In the darkness of its bridge, this was Admiral Thavor of the Hegemony, one of the Federation's most aggressive species. I am Admiral Thavor, Supreme Commander of the Federation Enforcement Fleet. The alien announced in perfect English. We demand immediate communication with your planetary leaders. President Julia Martinez sat in the emergency session of the United Earth Council, surrounded by military advisors and diplomats. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on her shoulders as she prepared to face the Federation's ultimatum. Put me through to their commander, she ordered. Thors. Multiple eyes focused on the human. President with obvious disdain. President Martinez, you will surrender. The three Cathmary criminals. Immediately, they are enemies of galactic peace and stability. The individuals you're referring to are guests of humanity, Martinez replied. Calmly, they have committed no crimes on our territory. They exist, Thier hissed. That is crime enough. The HFY are genetic deviants who threaten all civilized species. You will turn them over for proper disposal or face the consequences. Martinez felt anger rising at the alien's words. Disposal, are you talking about execution? The Cathmary cannot be allowed to spread their genetic corruption. The Federation has voted they must be eliminated for the safety of the galaxy. Then our answer is no, Martinez said firmly. Humanity doesn't execute people for being different. Thier's image leaned forward menacingly. You have 24 hours to reconsider, human. After that we will take them by force. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber. Stunned silence. Earth had justified the most powerful government in the galaxy. On Mars Research Station, the three Cathmary watched the news broadcasts. With growing despair, Belter's scales had turned completely black, a color that meant deep sorrow and guilt. We must surrender ourselves, he told Dr. Brooks. Your people should not die for us. That's not your choice to make. Brooks replied angrily. The president has decided, and so have the people of Earth. We stand by our friends. Zixna was crying a strange sight as the tears changed color as they fell down her scales. But your children will suffer, your families. How can we let this happen? MC stood silent, but his warrior instincts were clear. He was ready to fight and die alongside the humans who had shown them kindness. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to admiral, arrived at the station with urgent orders. We're evacuating you to secure location on Earth. If fighting starts, you'll be safer there. No, Belter said firmly. If humans fight for us, we fight beside them. We will not hide while others die in our name. Meanwhile, in space near Jupiter, human and Federation fleets faced each other across the void. Tension was so thick that the slightest mistake could trigger a war that humanity couldn't win. Admiral Baker opened communication channels with his fleet commanders. All ships, this is not a battle we can win through firepower. But remember, we're not just fighting for three aliens. We're fighting for the principle that no one should be killed for being different. The human crews prepared for what many believed would be their last battle. Engineers checked weapon systems that hadn't been tested in real combat. Marines suited up in powered armor, knowing they might have to fight aliens with superior technology. Medical teams prepared for massive casualties, but something unexpected was happening in the Federation fleet. Not all of the alien crews were comfortable with their mission. Captain Zareth of the Polarian science vessel had been watching human behavior for months, and what he saw impressed him. Admiral Theffer Zareth transmitted on a private channel. The humans have shown remarkable medical advances recently. Perhaps we should investigate their claims about the HFY being helpful rather than harmful. The Federation Council has decided. Tekver replied coldly. The Cathmary die. Any species that protects them shares their fate. Similar conversations were taking place throughout the Federation fleet. many younger officers, and scientists were questioning orders to destroy an entire species without trial or investigation. Back on Earth, President Martinez addressed the planet in an emergency broadcast. Fellow humans, we face a choice that will define who we are as a species. The Federation demands we abandon 3 innocent beings to save ourselves. But if we do that, what kind of people are we? She paused, looking directly into the camera. The HFY have helped us cure diseases and advance our science. They have shown us new ways to grow food and heal injuries. Most importantly, they have shown us that being different doesn't make someone dangerous. The response from human colonies across space was immediate and unanimous, from mining stations on distant asteroids to research bases on alien worlds. The message was the same: stand firm. On Mars Station, the HFY were preparing for what they expected to be their final hours. Felter spoke to Dr. Brooks one last time. If we die, please remember us as friends, not as the monsters the Federation claims we are. You're not going to die, Brooks replied, and even if you did, the galaxy would remember you as heroes. You've shown us that evolution and adaptation aren't things to fear, they're gifts that make life stronger. The 24-hour deadline approached. Federation ships powered up their weapons and began moving toward Earth. Human vessels took defensive positions, knowing they were about to face impossible odds. Then something remarkable happened. 3 Federation ships broke formation and moved toward the human lines. Captain Zareth's voice came over all communication channels. This is Captain Zareth of the Polarian research vessel Discovery. We are requesting permission to join the human defensive line. Polarian Science Council does not support the execution of the HFY. Without proper investigation, 2 more ships followed, both from younger species that had grown tired of the Federation's harsh policies. It wasn't many ships, but it was a crack in the Federation's unity. Admiral Thavor was furious. Any ship that abandons the Federation will be destroyed along with the humans. But Captain Morrison, commanding the human fleet, saw an opportunity. He opened channels to all Federation vessels, to all Federation crews. You've seen what the HFY have accomplished working with humanity. They've cured diseases and saved lives. Is this really the behavior of dangerous criminals? More ships began to waver. The Federation fleet, built on fear and obedience, was starting to fracture when faced with human courage and Cathmary compassion. The battle was about to begin, but it would not be the simple destruction that Admiral Thavor had planned. This would be a fight that would change the galaxy forever, started by humanity's simple refusal to abandon their friends. As weapons charged and shields activated, both sides knew that whatever happened next would echo through the stars for generations to come. Commander Alex Turner sat in the dark communications room on Earth's moon base, his screens filled with encrypted messages from across the galaxy. As head of human intelligence operations, he had been secretly reaching out to other species for weeks, following rumors of discontent within the Federation. What he discovered amazed him. The first response had come from the Whisper collective, beings made of pure energy, who had been enslaved by the Federation to power their massive ships. Their message was brief but clear: we have watched your kindness to the rejected One's we too seek freedom, the second. Contact surprised him even more. The forgotten mechanists artificial. Intelligences created by an extinct species had been denied citizenship by the Federation for over 300 years. They lived as servants and workers treated as property rather than people. We calculate that human behavior represents 97.3% probability of treating artificial life with respect. Their representative unit 774 had transmitted, "We wish to assist in your resistance," but the most shocking revelation came from the wanderer clans, nomadic traders who had once been wealthy merchants. The Federation had destroyed their economy by limiting their access to trade routes and forcing them to pay heavy taxes. Federation fears anyone who doesn't fit their neat categories, explained clan leader Nixara during a secret meeting. First, they came for the Cathmarie. Tomorrow it might be us or you or anyone who thinks differently. Turner realized that humanity had stumbled into something much larger than a simple rescue mission. The galaxy was full of oppressed species, all waiting for someone brave enough to stand up to the Federation. Meanwhile, on the human colony world of New Haven, a medical crisis was unfolding that would change everything. A strange plague had appeared seemingly from nowhere, attacking the nervous systems of human colonists. The symptoms were unlike anything doctors had seen before. Dr. Patricia Kane, the colony's chief medical officer, sent desperate messages to Earth requesting help. "We've lost 43 people already. The disease spreads through air contact and resists all known treatments. We need immediate assistance." The news reached Mars research station within hours. Zixna immediately volunteered to help despite the danger of exposing herself to Federation surveillance. "This is what we do," she told Dr. Brooks firmly. "This is why our people were given these abilities. We heal, we adapt, we save lives." Velter and Mork insisted on joining her. "If our presence has brought war to humanity," Velter said, "then we will prove our worth by saving human lives." Dr. Brooks knew the risks. If the Federation detected Cathamarie involvement in solving another medical crisis, it would confirm their suspicions about human alien cooperation. But people were dying, and the Keith Mari might be the only hope. The three aliens traveled to New Haven aboard a medical transport, their biosignatures masked by human technology. When they arrived at the colony, the situation was even worse than reported. "We're losing people every hour," Dr. Kane told them. Desperately, the plague seems to target specific genetic markers. It's almost like it was designed to kill humans. Zixna began her analysis immediately, allowing herself to be exposed to the disease while her companions monitored her vital signs. Her scales changed color rapidly as her body adapted to the new threat. "This is not natural," she announced after several hours of study. "This plague was created artificially. Someone made this to kill your people." Specifically, the implications were terrifying. If someone was using biological weapons against human colonies, it meant the Federation was willing to commit genocide to get the Cathmarie. But Zixna wasn't finished with her analysis. "I can create a cure, but I need help. My people's abilities work better when we combine our efforts, working together." The three Cathmarie used their biological adaptation skills to develop treatments that human science couldn't produce. Belter's experience helped him understand the disease's structure. Mork's warrior instincts helped him identify the plague's weaknesses. Zixna's engineering skills let her design the cure. Within 3 days they had not only stopped the plague but created a vaccine that would protect humans from similar biological attacks in the future. News of the miracle cure spread rapidly through human space and beyond. Federation intelligence intercepted communications about the medical breakthrough, confirming their worst fears about Cathmary abilities, but something else was happening that the Federation hadn't expected. Other species were taking notice of human Cathmary cooperation, and many of them liked what they saw. Commander Turner received a flood of new messages from oppressed groups across the galaxy. The Drift Walkers, a species that lived in the empty spaces between stars, offered to share their knowledge of hidden travel routes. The Echo Singers, beings who communicated through music, volunteered to carry secret messages across Federation space. Most importantly, young members of Federation species were beginning to question their government's policies. They had grown up with Federation propaganda about the dangers of genetic diversity and the need for strict species separation. But seeing humans work alongside Cathmary to save lives made them wonder if they had been told lies. Captain Zarath, still positioned with the Federation fleet near Earth, received private messages from dozens of junior officers across multiple ships. They wanted to know more about human medical advances and Cathmary abilities. Sir, his science officer whispered during a quiet moment on the bridge, our medical databases show that human colonies have solved 3 major health crises in the past 6 months. Diseases that our own scientists said were incurable. And what do you think that means? Zarath asked carefully. I think the Cathmary aren't the dangerous plague spreaders the Council claims they are. I think they're healers. Similar conversations were happening throughout the Federation fleet. The younger generation of aliens had access to information networks that their commanders couldn't fully control, and they were learning the truth about human Cathmary cooperation. Back on Earth, President Martinez was making a decision that would reshape galactic politics. She called together representatives from all the oppressed species that had contacted humanity. Meeting took place in secret on a space station hidden in the asteroid belt. Representatives from 12 different species attended, each one bringing stories of Federation oppression and dreams of freedom. We all have the same enemy, Martinez told the assembled delegates. The Federation doesn't just want to destroy the Cathmary, they want to destroy anyone who doesn't fit their narrow definition of acceptable life. Nixara of the Wanderer clan spoke first. Humans have shown more courage in 6 months than most species show in centuries. We pledge our ships and our trade routes to your cause. Unit 774 of the Mechanists added, we offer our computational abilities and technical knowledge. The Federation has underestimated artificial intelligence for too long. The Whisper Collective's representative, a being of shifting energy called Bright Song, communicated through translation devices. Our people have powered Federation ships for generations as slaves. We know their weaknesses. We will share this knowledge one by one. Each species offered their support. The meeting that had started as a desperate plea for help was turning into the foundation of a new galactic alliance, but the most important breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Captain Zareth sent a secret message to Admiral Morrison. Federation fleet morale is collapsing. Many ships are ready to defect if given the chance. The young officers have seen the truth about Cathmarie healing abilities. They no longer believe Admiral Devore's lies. Morrison realized that the coming battle wouldn't just be about military strength, it would be about winning hearts and minds, showing the galaxy that cooperation was stronger than oppression. As both sides prepared for conflict, the balance of power was shifting in ways that Admiral Theffer couldn't imagine. Federation's greatest weapon had always been fear and division, but humanity's simple act of kindness toward the HFY was bringing together the galaxy's outcasts in ways that threatened the established order. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine whether the galaxy's future belonged to those who embraced diversity or those who feared it. Admiral Theffer stared at his command screen in growing fury. 3 more Federation ships had broken formation in the past hour, joining the small group of vessels that had defected to the human side. His carefully planned show of force was falling apart. "Sir," his communications officer reported nervously, "we're receiving surrender requests from the Cathmarie survivors. They're offering to turn themselves in to prevent bloodshed." Ignored. Tekfer snapped, "This is no longer just about 3 genetic deviants. The humans have corrupted too many minds. They must be punished as an example to others." But even as he spoke, more reports came in. Federation crews were refusing orders. Young officers were demanding explanations for why they were attacking healers and protectors. The rigid military structure that had maintained galactic order for centuries was cracking. On Mars Research Station, Velter made one final plea to the human leadership. His scales had turned deep purple, a color that meant desperate resolve. "Please let us surrender," he begged Dr. Brooks and Admiral Morrison. "We have lived long enough to see kindness from your people. That is more than we ever hoped for." "Nobody surrenders," Morrison replied firmly. "We're all in this together now." The battle began not with the massive assault had planned, but with a series of small skirmishes as Federation loyalist ships tried to stop their own vessels from defecting. Energy beams flashed between ships that had served side by side for decades. Captain Zareth broadcast on all frequencies as his ship broke away from the Federation formation. "This is the Polarian research vessel Discovery. We stand with the humans in Cathmarie against tyranny. Any ship that wishes to join us is welcome." The response was immediate. 17 more Federation vessels changed sides in the first 10 minutes of fighting, then 34, then over 70. Admiral Morrison watched in amazement as the odds slowly shifted in favor of the Allied forces, but the real surprise came when ships that weren't part of either fleet began appearing throughout the solar system. The Wanderer clans arrived first, their colorful trading vessels emerging from hidden hyperspace routes. Behind them came the sleek energy ships of the Whisper Collective, followed by the angular black vessels of the Forgotten Mechanists. "This is Clan Leader Nixara to all Allied forces," came the transmission from the largest trading vessel. "The Wanderer clans pledge our ships to the cause of freedom. Unit 774's mechanical voice. Followed Mechanist fleet operational. We calculate 89.7%. Probability of victory with combined forces. The Whisper Collective didn't use words, but their ships began releasing waves of energy that disrupted Federation weapon systems while leaving Allied ships unaffected. Admiral T.H. Shore realized his perfect plan had become a disaster, but he refused to retreat. All loyal Federation ships attack the human home world, destroy their capital city. As an example, a group of hardcore loyalist vessels began moving toward Earth, their weapons charging for planetary bombardment, but they never reached their target. Mordek and a team of human Marines had infiltrated one of the Federation ships. During the chaos of battle, the KTH Mary warrior moved through the ship's corridors with deadly precision, his body adapting to provide enhanced strength and speed. Target the bridge. Colonel Hughes transmitted from the human assault shuttle. Take out their command structure, but Mork had a different plan. Instead of killing the enemy officers, he used his biological abilities to release a sleeping gas that knocked out the crew without permanent harm. We are not here to murder, he told Hughes over the communicator. We are here to stop murder. Similar actions were taking place throughout the Federation loyalist fleet. Human and Allied forces boarded enemy ships, but instead of destroying them, they captured them intact. Even in the heat of battle, the Allied forces showed restraint and mercy. The turning point came when Zixna made a broadcast that reached every ship in both fleets. Her young voice, translated into dozens of languages, cut through the noise of battle. Federation crews, this is Zixna of the KTH Mary. You have been told that we are dangerous plague spreaders, but in the past months we have worked with humans to cure 3 different diseases that killed hundreds of people. We have helped grow food to feed the hungry and developed medicines to heal the sick. Her scales shifted to bright, hopeful colors as she continued. The Federation calls us genetic deviants, but our abilities are gifts meant to help all life in the galaxy. We do not seek to rule or conquer. We seek only to heal and help. Judge us by our actions, not by your leader fears. The effect was immediate. Across the Federation fleet, crews stopped fighting and started thinking. Many of them had families who had been saved by the mysterious new medicines that had appeared in recent months. Now they learned that these cures had come from the very beings they were ordered to destroy. Ship after ship ceased fire and began broadcasting surrender signals. Not surrender to the humans, but withdrawal from the conflict entirely. By the end of the day, Admiral Tekfor commanded fewer than 30 vessels out of his original fleet of over 200. Faced with complete military collapse, Tekfor made one final desperate attempt. He ordered his remaining ships to ram the Mars research station, hoping to kill the Keith Mari, even if it meant suicide. But the attack never came. Captain Zareth and a mixed fleet of human Polarian and Meccani ships intercepted the Loyalists before they could reach their target. The brief engagement ended with the Force flagship disabled and the Admiral himself taken prisoner. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. In the months that followed, the galaxy underwent changes that no one could have predicted. The Federation government collapsed as member species withdrew their support and demanded new leadership. The old system of fear and Oppression was replaced by something unprecedented. President Martinez stood before the newly formed Galactic Alliance Council, representing 47 different species. The meeting took place on New Harmony, a joint human Cathmary colony that had become the symbol of interspecies cooperation. We gather not as conquerors or rulers, Martinez said to the assembled delegates, but as partners in building a better galaxy. Every species, whether biological, artificial, or energy-based, has value and deserves respect. Ambassador Helen Ross, now Secretary General of the Alliance, looked out at the diverse crowd of beings who had once been enemies. Former Federation species sat beside the outcasts they had once oppressed, working together to write new laws based on equality and mutual aid. The Ketmari had not only been welcomed back into galactic society, but had become leaders. In the new government, Velter served as the Alliance's chief medical advisor, using his people's knowledge to establish healing centers throughout known space. Cigna had founded the Galactic Engineering Corps, teaching other species how to use biological technology alongside traditional machinery. Her innovations had revolutionized agriculture, medicine, and space travel. Even Mork had found a new purpose. Instead of being a warrior, he became head of the Alliance peacekeeping force, training former enemies to work together in protecting the innocent. 5 years after the battle that changed everything, Dr. Brooks visited the Memorial Garden on New Harmony. The garden honored all the species that had suffered under Federation oppression, with living monuments that grew and changed over time. She found tending to a group of human children who were learning alongside young Cathmary. The alien elder scales glowed with warm colors as he watched the youngsters play together, their laughter mixing with the musical sounds of Ketmari communication. Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this? Brooks asked him. Velter looked up at the stars visible through the garden's transparent dome. When we were dying in space, rejected by every species we met, I thought our people were finished. I never dreamed that salvation would come from a species we had never heard of. What do you think made the difference? Brooks wondered. Humans did something the galaxy had forgotten how to do, Velter replied. You chose compassion over fear. You judged us by our actions, not our biology. That simple kindness changed everything. Above them, ships from dozens of different species traveled peacefully through space, carrying trade goods, medical supplies, and cultural exchanges between worlds that had once been enemies. The galaxy had learned that diversity was not something to fear, but something to celebrate, and it all began with 3 outcasts who found shelter among the stars, welcomed by a species that believed in giving everyone a second chance.